All right, hello, April Human Geography people. Let's make sure this is all squared away. I think it's good to go. All right, so this is part two of the Unit 1 presentation. So it's not as thematic as the first part. It's just all kinds of stuff you got to know from Unit 1. It's a lot of more kind of map analysis and basic human geography concepts, so let's do it. Which map shows distribution the best? Which map is related to induction? What are nations, states, and nation states? And what are Mr. Brown's 7 world regions? So yeah, some of that was in previous lessons, but it's good to have that stuff fresh in your head because all of it's on the test. So let's do it. All right, there's a whole lot of content on this slide. Oh, and I see that my little face box is blocking out part of that. I'll read that really carefully. So these are all human geography concepts you got to know. Relative location, a general area on Earth. And there's some tough questions about this on my test. So like relative location would be I'm hanging out by the Jack in the Box. Well, there's a lot of Jack in the Boxes. So which Jack in the Box are you talking about? You're not very precise. A relative location could also say I'm in Las Vegas. Well, Las Vegas is 25 square miles. So where are you in Las Vegas? It'd be kind of hard to hunt you down. Absolute location, however, is kind of the opposite of that. Absolute is where you are precise. You know exactly where someone is, and there's no debate about where you could find that person. So, you would say, I am at the corner of Jones and Decatur, right by a gas station. Or I'm at the Wells Fargo on the corner of Decatur and Cactus. Okay, so that's a pretty precise location. You could figure out where that person is really really quickly. GPS coordinates, that's also an absolute location. Someone's street address, that's an exact location. So an absolute location is there's no doubt you know exactly where that person is. All right, now we're going to get into these concepts. So place. These are descriptive characteristics of a location, could be cultural or physical. So Las Vegas is within the big valley in southern Nevada. Las Vegas has a whole bunch of casinos in it. So those are ways you could describe this place. But then we get into regions, and yeah, divided unit of the world contains some characteristic that unifies it. You already saw my presentation about the 7 global regions, but then you could say there also are regions within the United States. I mean, there's the South states that all kind of have a lot of geographic consistencies. They have some cultural consistencies. And then there's the Western states. I think we're a part of the Western states. So yeah, there could be even subdivisions of regions. All right, and now we get into this one, site. It's always a place described by physical features. So a site, you have to use physical features. So you would say the Nevada desert. You could not say casinos with site. Let's see, what is the site in Las Vegas that has a lot of big red rocks? Well, it'd be Red Rock Canyon. The site in Las Vegas with a big old lake, that would be Lake Mead. Okay, and then situation, how one place is linked to another. So the situation between America and Mexico is that Mexico provides laborers for the United States, and America provides higher technological goods to Mexico. So also, like, let's say the situation between Southern California and Las Vegas, because I think I read somewhere like 70% of all the people that come to Las Vegas come from Southern California. So those Southern California people, they value Las Vegas for being a place of entertainment and fun and kind of a vacation destination. Well, we value Southern California for them giving us all of their money. So, hey, there you go. Right, and then this one, I'll read this one really carefully. Spatial perspective, the geographical concept of where things happen on Earth, in space, and in different places. So, yeah, this is a big concept I gotta explain. So, spatial perspective, it's just the overall theme, it's really an overall theme of this course. It's of how people, locations are all interconnected. So, for example, the spatial perspective of China is that China is where so many of the factory jobs in the world are based. The spatial perspective of the Middle East, that's where so much oil comes from. The spatial perspective of America is where so many inventions are made. So that's kind of the way you use spatial perspective. Okay, so I'm going to move on through this. And yeah, these are the regions within the country of Turkey. Anatolia is what they used to call Turkey. That's cool. And then here's the regions of the United States. We'll dive into that more later. Okay, so here's three terms you absolutely got to know. Formal regions. These are regions that have designated official boundaries, such as cities, states, countries. So a formal region, everybody knows the border. Clearly indicated on maps, publicly known, and like so more examples of formal regions. Every international border is a formal region. Like the world should know when one country starts and one country stops. Sometimes that gets complicated, and I'll talk about that in another presentation. Let's say this is an example of not a formal region. A lot of times when people ask you where you live, you'll say, "Oh, I live in Las Vegas." But in reality, do you live in Las Vegas? Do you live in Mountain's Edge? Do you live in Southern Highlands? I mean, yeah, I guess your address does say the city of Las Vegas on it, but where is the formal region of the city of Las Vegas? Because it's weird that the city of Las Vegas is actually like way far north from us. That they've now sort of subdivided this valley into other formal regions. Like, for example, the Las Vegas Strip is not in Las Vegas, it's in Paradise, Nevada. And yeah, we're in Mountain's Edge or Southern Highlands. So the formal regions can get tricky. And this makes me think of a situation I had that I had some Dutch foreign exchange students back when I was in college, and we were driving through Southern California, and they kept asking me, "Are we in Los Angeles yet?" And you don't really know when Los Angeles starts or stops because there's Riverside and Pasadena and Lancaster, and it's unclear of where some cities start and stop. So that's why formal regions are a bad idea. Okay, but then we get into functional regions. And this is absolutely where that city concept comes to mind. So functional regions, they're defined by their connections, circulation of a big newspaper, circulation of TV shows. So absolutely, even though you may live in Southern Highlands or Mountain's Edge, your functional region is the greater Las Vegas region. And also, it's just easy. Like, when people ask you where you're from, you're not going to say, "I'm from Mountain's Edge, Nevada," because no one knows where that is, let's be honest. So you just say the functional region you live in, which is the region of Las Vegas. And also, like, I grew up in La Mesa, California, but no one knows where La Mesa, California is. I just say it's in the functional region of San Diego, so I just tell people I'm from San Diego. All right. And then vernacular and perceived regions. These regions are just unclear, okay? These are regions where people will have arguments about them all the time. So they're sort of like they're definitely not formal regions. So they're sort of like functional regions that not everyone will agree to. The southern states, some people will say Tennessee is a southern state. Some people say Kentucky is a southern state. Well, Kentucky fought for the Union during the Civil War. Is Kentucky a southern state? I don't know. The Far East is China in the Far East. I say it's about half and half. Other people disagree with me. And the big perceived region is the Middle East. I think I have below here 3 different maps of the Middle East. And all of them include different countries. So there you go. They have no formal boundaries. They're only understood in mental maps. So yeah, some people put Afghanistan in the Middle East. Some people don't. I mean, there's definitely cultural similarities, but then that's where things start to get very different culturally as well. All right, so let's check these out. So right here you got a map of Indonesia, Malaysia, and Brunei because they all share the island of Borneo. So 3 countries, 1 island, and it's pretty important to know where the formal regions are so you know what country you're in. So this is kind of an example of the formal regions of the island of Borneo. All right, here's one map of the Middle East. So let's see what we've got here. We go from Turkey to Saudi Arabia, Oman, Yemen, and they stop at Pakistan. They got at Pakistan, Afghanistan, yeah, and the Kyrgyzstan. So they got a lot of the Istans in this one. But this map of the Middle East, they have none of the Istans. And this map doesn't have Egypt, but this map does have Egypt. And I think Egypt is absolutely in the Middle East. So I'm more comfortable with this map. But then again, these are vernacular regions. The whole world will not agree. It generally seems like everyone's gonna agree on Saudi Arabia, Yemen, Iran, Iraq. Like everyone will agree that this is the Middle East. But the question is, how far in Asia are you going? How far in Africa are you going? So they've got a little bit of Egypt there. And then this one, it's like all of northern Africa is the modern Middle East to these people, but none of the Istan countries. So where does the Middle East stop and start? You decide. The world will never know. All right, and then here's a functional regional map of Los Angeles. So they've got downtown Los Angeles here, then they got Long Beach in the house, Santa Monica. They got San Bernardino Valley. That's definitely a part of Los Angeles. Here's the Hollywood Hills. Way over here, maybe they got like Riverside, Corona. I don't know how far this goes, but definitely this whole big zone is considered functional Los Angeles, even though the true city of Los Angeles is only where the big high-rise buildings are. Okay, so that's that concept. All right, globalization. Man, if there was one term that applies to like the main arguments that I'll teach in this course, it's the word globalization. The process of interacting and integrating among different people all over the world. It's sort of like the world economy is now so interconnected and international trade is such a big part of our world. The borders of the world in a lot of ways don't really matter anymore. Because we're just everybody's communicating with everyone. The internet connects you anywhere. You can buy stuff in China, ship it over here almost for free. So it's the whole world is interconnected, and I think it is a good thing. Now there are some bad things about globalization, and we'll talk about those at length in the class. But it's this idea that everyone on planet Earth is interconnected with each other, and that concept is definitely true. And a big thing doing that is the information age and global trade. So, I mean, look around. Things are made in China all the time. So that concept is globalization 100%. All right, let's bounce through all this. So here's the United Nations Assembly Building. They got representatives from every country in the world talking about how to keep the world a peaceful, productive place. And then, yeah, global cloud computing. It doesn't matter where you are in the world. You can all talk on the internet. I mean, you're probably watching this video on the internet right now. So there you go. Here's a Hyundai Alabama plant. So yeah, a South Korean car company is opening a car production factory in Alabama. That's a whole thing. So that's globalization for sure. Here's a bunch of this is kind of fun. Like if you ever call a customer helpline on your cell phone, odds are your phone will be routed to India, and one of these people in India will answer the phone and talk in perfect English and try to help you through whatever problems you're having. So it's so wild that's the reality we live in today. Here's shipping containers, shipping stuff around the world, and America is now made in China. It's the reality. What just happened here? Did I double click? I think I double clicked. There we go. All right, so now let's learn about these two other concepts as well. Developed countries, the first world. Developing countries, the third world. I remember kids usually ask, Mr. Brown, what was the second world? Well, the second world was the former Soviet Union. Oh, yeah, say it right there in the red. Okay, but anyway, let's talk about the first world versus the third world, because those are the only things that really come up in our world today. So first world countries are countries that have a lot of wealth and factories. If your country builds stuff, it's a first world country. And traditionally, that has been the West and the Far East. But other countries are definitely rising in wealth and in factory production. So the first world is it's not like a for sure set thing. I think that over especially the lives of you kids, factories will become a bigger deal, and you'll start to see stuff saying made in Brazil or made in India, made in Nigeria. That's going to start happening, but it's honestly not really happening right now so much. And yeah, then they get the developing countries, the third world, tend to be poorer countries, do not have a history of people working in factories, In fact, the history of people working there is almost entirely farmers. People got to grow food, so that's still the big part of the labor force in most third world countries. All right, so let's check it out. Here's some factory robots. So you'd probably see these in the United States or Japan. And then, yeah, here's a good map showing you the first world, the second world, the third world. We'll never talk about the second world, so just ignore them. Sorry, Russia. But yeah, the first world, it's the West, and Japan's in here. I'm definitely going to put South Korea, coastal China in there. So it's the Far East and the West, but the third world is pretty much everyone else. And yeah, first world country, fancy buildings. Third world country, living in shacks. And yeah, first world or third world? You tell me. It's the third world. And then, yeah, third world countries, they want to have clean water, live the best lives, get education. First world countries, we do all kinds of silly stuff and have, spoiled kids and all that. Okay. So now let's learn about a couple different maps. So the Mercator Map, this is an example right there. It's a special style of the map of the world, and it's probably the most common way you'll look at the world. And if you just said, hey, show me a map of the world, you're probably going to see this Mercator Map. For the longest time, this was the Google Maps version of the world, but I think they've recently changed that. And the whole purpose of the Mercator Map is to take this circular world we know and love and to flatten it out. But when you flatten out a circle, things get really challenging. I've got a great Vox video that really dives into this point. And so what they did with the Mercator Map is they enlarged the North Pole and they enlarged the South Pole. The reason why they did this is because they wanted to have these squares where ships could navigate across the world relatively easily. And you'll notice that in the center of the Mercator Map, maybe I'll zoom in on it for a second. In the center of the Mercator Map, the squares are pretty small, but at the top parts, the squares are really long. So it shows you that they meshed with the scale of the world quite a bit as they made this map. And if you truly thought this was planet Earth, well, I have some bad news for you. Antarctica is like basically the size of Australia. So in this map, you think Antarctica is about to swallow the whole dang planet. Also in this map, Greenland looks like it's almost as big as Africa. And that is absolutely not true. Greenland is like, you could probably fit like 30 Greenlands in Africa. So the argument is actually that this map, the Mercator Map, is a racist map because it extends the size of these traditionally white and Western countries while it sort of crunches up and decreases the size of so many of the countries in the middle of the world, which tend to be people of black and brown skin. So the Mercator Map has some flaws, but I'll tell you why people use it. It's really good if you're navigating a ship, because you can create these compass headings based off this map and use a lot of angles and math and figure out where you are in the world and where you're going. So that's what's up. But yeah, it definitely distorts and enlarges areas near the North and South Poles. That's why this map is problematic. Okay, so that's the Mercator Map. Let's keep bouncing along. So boom, Mercator Map, and then this is a great question. So this is, I think, the Australian map of the world. Okay, so if you ever go to an Australia school, this is the map of the world. You'll see, and you notice how all the countries are definitely like written in this we call it upside down fashion, but they do say this is the Southern Ocean and this is the Northern Ocean. But I mean, think about it. Like, how do we know what's truly north and what's truly south? Like, is it wrong for Australia to declare this map like this? Like, can they not be the center of their world and show the rest of the world around them? And also, like, let's say aliens come to our planet one day and then they just start looking at our world like this, and it's not incorrect. So this is the Australian Mercator Map, and I can't say the map is wrong. So that's just kind of cool. All right, moving on. Okay, and now here's the other really common map projection you're going to see. It's the Robinson projection. And what you can tell the difference right now, they kind of curved the sides of the world to hopefully accommodate for a little of the Mercator's distortion problems. So when the Mercator was this perfect flat square, they've shifted the square into kind of a rectangle now and just bulged out the sides. So I think the Robinson is absolutely a better map. The problem is it makes navigation on compass headings kind of challenging. So a person piloting a ship or captaining a ship would never really use this. But if I had to choose my favorite map projection that I think does the best at showing what the world really looks like on a flat surface, I think Robinson is the winner. So yeah, let's check it out. So here's Robinson right there. And the thing is, it's still not perfect though, because, and you can tell that still the top parts of the world are enlarged a little bit compared to the middle parts of the world. So there, you can still make the argument with Robinson that you're showing off how big the top part and the bottom part of the world are, and you're neglecting how big the central part of the world is. So it's not perfect. It's better. But yeah, still Greenland is really big. Still Antarctica is really big. There are many other map projections that do their best to solve these concerns. Okay, and yeah, the Gall Peters. This is the one that actually gets sizes right. So it did its best to adjust the distortion, and this is the correct size calculations of land on our planet Earth. So it keeps the Mercator's flatness. So once again, we go back to Mercator land, but each segment of the world is presented accurately as the world is in real life. So this is the true example of the world. You notice now Greenland's really scrunched up, Africa's enlarged, South America's enlarged, Indonesia's enlarged. So this is the correct portions of the map. But now you really can't tell like any details of some of these northern islands. Like Russia's like also super scrunched now, but this is how it is in reality. So this just changes your perception of the world based on how you view maps. So it's cool stuff. Okay, so yeah, that's the comparison with the Mercator and the Gall Peters. So Africa and South America get way bigger, but Eurasia and North America get smaller. So yeah, and here's just more comparisons just showing you Greenland size. And Gall Peters is the correct comparison, and Mercator, as you believe that Greenland is the size of Africa. That is not true. All right, the Fuller projection. Oh man, this is another one I'm required to teach you guys. So imagine you took a soccer ball and you cut out all of the little hexes in the soccer ball and made it flat. Okay, so this is what your soccer ball would look like. So the Fuller projection tries to do the same thing with planet Earth, and I mean they get the sizes right. Like these are the correct sizes of our planet, but it's a really disjointed and very difficult way to see the relationships between how our world is connected with each other. So the flat soccer ball and the Fuller projection. Yeah, it's a terrible, terrible map projection. But I mean, it's correct. There's very little distortion on this map. It's just it's distorted in the sense that you don't know how far away Africa is from South America or how far away Antarctica is from Australia. So it's a little wacky. All right, yeah, and distortion. I mentioned this quite a bit. It's the flaw in maps from taking a circular object into a flat surface. Every single map will have some distortion. Even the Gall Peters, okay, like that map that really tried to get the sizes right, it distorted then the islands of northern Canada, so you can't even tell where they stop or start. So yeah, and it's always going to be a flaw. Okay, I think there's a question on the test. Is there distortion on every map? The answer is yes. You can't make a circle flat without creating some disadvantages. So no perfect map exists. All right, let's check it out. And then, oh yeah, regions of the world. I'll bounce through this. If we were in real class, we would review regions of the world right now. But yeah, it's the first world, developing Asia, Far East, former Soviet Union, Sub-Saharan Africa, Latin America. All right, and then bouncing on through. Yeah, here's the official AP clarifications on so much of this. And oh yeah, I'll skip this one too. This is a little activity I would usually do in class, but it sort of previews what we'll learn about in the urban unit. And then, okay, here's one more concept you definitely got to know: Toblers Law. Toblers Law is a geographic concept that says everything is connected to everything else, but near things tend to be more connected than distant ones. Okay, so like for example, if you're a kid who lives relatively close to Desert Oasis High School, you probably tend to go to the water park of Wet and Wild more than you go to the water park of Cowabunga Bay. Why does it make logical sense that you'll go to Wet and Wild more? It's because it's geographically closer. Another one is there's a McDonald's on the corner of Cactus and Decatur. You probably go to that McDonald's way more than you go to any other McDonald's in this part of town because it's geographically close. And then if we were in class, I'd say, how many of you have been to Disneyland? Hopefully, a lot of you have been to Disneyland. I'll say, how many of you have been to Disney World? Probably a lot less. And it just makes sense. According to Toblers Law, if something is nearby, you're more likely to do that. So, yeah, do what's closer to you. Like I would say, like how many kids have been to Utah? Hopefully, a lot of kids have been to Utah, and I'll say how many kids have been to Maine, and might not be any kids. See, I've been to Maine. There's not a lot to see there. So, yeah, there you go. Tobler's Law. It's all about space. Um, okay, and yeah, I'll skip this. This is also just reviewing map types, but yeah, maps. Yep, and I'm done. All right, cool. So that's it for me. Oh, cartogram maps, so much fun. All right, so anyway, that's that. Peace out.